Welcome back. Now, the Africa Copyright and Collective Management Day will be celebrated on the 12th and the 13th of September. This day is dedicated to raising awareness about the importance of copyright, protecting the rights of creators, and strengthening the role of collective management in supporting the creative economy. To help us unpack what this means for Namibia, we're now joined this morning by Albert Nicanor, the Chief Executive Officer of NASCAM, joining us via Zoom. Mr. Nicanor, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome to good morning to your listeners and viewers.
All right. We're equally joined by Joseph Onesmus, who is the Manager of IP Framework and Enforcement at BIPA. And he's joining us in studio. Mr. Onesmus, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Ndapewa, and good morning to the viewers of Good Morning Namibia.
All right. Perhaps if we could start with you, Mr. Nicanor, how does NASCAM currently protect and promote the rights of Namibian artists and creators?
That is that our core mandate is really to protect in terms of the Copyright Act. We also mandated in terms of the constitutional NASCAM to ensure that we collect the royalties that the members or rights holders have entrusted to us, and also to distribute. So our mandate is really to protect and enforce those users in the community or in Namibia in general, to make sure that they are complying with the Copyright Act by licensing them on an annual basis. We are looking at broad scope of users, including broadcasters, shops, stores, clubs, DJs. All those are users. On a regular basis, we have to license them. And that is our core mandate, to make sure that no one is allowed to use rights holders' works without having a proper license. And you must understand as well that we only have enforcement, but we are not really mandated in terms of act to have officials who are authorized in terms of the act to confiscate. So we are using our stakeholders, NAMPOL, to go out with us on visits to make sure that those who are using music unlicensed, we confiscate their equipment, or either we also take them to court on behalf of our members.
Right. Well, Mr. Onesmus, how would you describe the current state of Namibia's copyright legislation and intellectual property framework?
Thank you very much, Ndapewa, for that question. It's very fundamental, particularly to the creative sectors, because, you know, the uniqueness of intellectual property is that without fit-for-purpose legal framework, even they cannot able to function very well to an extent of actually generating, protecting, and commercializing their intellectual property in area and ambit of copyright. I think as a business and intellectual property authority and agency of government, I mean, we are mandated to ensure that we have fit-for-purpose legal frameworks. And as we are actually contextualizing contents without the copyright, BIPA has actually on the process to review the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Act, Act 6 of 1994. Ndapewa, this act was actually enacted 31 years ago. It was fit for purpose by then, but you may believe, you may actually agree with me as well as to some of the viewers that, I mean, the involvement of the digital environment and the growth in technology has so much affected the way we create contents, the way we consume contents. So we then realized that I think it's high time that we as a country, we actually come up with a new legal framework that will enable you as broadcasters, enable me as influencers or content creators to create my content, and simultaneously also, given the growth in technologies, I should be able to commercialize and make a living. So BIPA, in collaboration with other stakeholders, NASCAM, Ministry of Education, since 2019, we have been on a process to review this bill. We did comprehensive consultation, and we actually drafted a copyright and related right bill that is before cabinet. And really, it's just actually with an objective to ensure that we have fit-for-purpose legal framework, because remember, the uniqueness of intellectual intellectual property, given that you cannot touch them, you ought to have better legal framework in place. I could actually characterize that I think our landscape, we are not so okay, but I think we made significant, progress toward ensuring that we have that needed and, enabling legal reforms in place.
Yeah, but with all that said, Mr. Onesmus, what are some of the gaps that currently exist within the system that make it very difficult to fully protect the creators in today's environment?
Thank you very much, Ndabewa. You see, and I want to tap in from what Albert actually indicated. Them as a collective management society, they are not, as much as they are mandated to enforce the law, given the growth in technology, the current law does not enable them to have what we call the licensed inspectors with empowered in terms of the act with a mandate to, approach infringers and arrest infringers or confiscate some of the, or seize some of the items that are involved. I think the current legal framework itself, number one, it's as far as the enforcement is concerned, there's so much gap, and also does not make protection for, digital protections as far as the technology and Internet of Things is concerned. Yeah. Those are some of the gaps, and most importantly, it doesn't allow commercializations of creative content in social media platforms, your digital platforms like your YouTube, your TikTok. That doesn't allow, as well as just to make sure that in an event your work has been infringed in different countries, you are able to enforce your right through enabling, through available mechanism. Those are some of the avenues that we as an authority try to make sure that the new legal framework will enable to actually address, and fundamentally to ensure that we professionalize the creative sector through much needed legal frameworks.
All right. Mr. Nicanor, on to you. What progress has been made just to ensure that the artists are being fairly remunerated? And also, what are some of the challenges that still remain?
I think we have made good strides in terms of streamlining our processes and also having new license schemes or agreements across all the broadcasters and all the users. Meaning we are coming with new agreements to allow, fair compensation. It is very complex issue that we have to deal with, because the understanding of the value of copyright is not really well known to the community and the users. So it is a very complex issue in terms of making users understand the value of copyright. We are also, with our stakeholders, I think we have made good strides in terms of coming up with tools that will help us fairly, distribute royalties and also collect more royalties. What I'm talking about is in terms of our operations, in terms of our systems, which we are bringing to ensure that we are able to track all the users, through WIPO Connect system, which we are looking at. And I think my colleague at BIPA, Joseph, would attest to that. In our short time with our relationship between BIPA and NASCAM, we have managed to acquire a system which is called WIPO Connect to help NASCAM. In the first instance, our work has been done very manually. So with WIPO Connect system, we are now able to allow our members to register electronically and also to register their works, on a database, so that it's able to be tracked everywhere. So there's a lot of data. We are data-driven currently because we need data to be able to fairly allow our works of our members to be tracked and to be remunerated accordingly. Yeah. So there are challenges. Non-compliance is number one. Most of the users do not understand, and that's why they are not complying. And we also need to understand that our rights holders need to be educated on their rights. Most of them do not understand what is copyright as well. So if we do not make our members understand, and we do not make the users understand to respect those rights holders' works, it is going to be a chaotic economic, ecosystem for the creators. So we also have a big duty, which is to educate users and also to educate the rights holders.
Yeah. Mr. Onesmus, how is BIPA working with stakeholders like NASCAM and also just the ministry and broadcasters in order to harmonize Namibia's law with international treaties?
Thank you very much, Ndapewa, and that's very fundamental because as alone we cannot not actually do what much needed to ensure that we redefine and just revolutionize the creative sector.
Yeah.
I indicated that we have been working together with the Ministry of Education, Art and Culture, as well as NASCAM. And just to contextualize, NASCAM is actually a collective management society, which is licensed by BIPA. And that said, in 2023, BIPA and NASCAM actually signed a memorandum of understanding, and core to the memorandum of understanding is actually to ensure that we promote the respect of intellectual property, dual approach from the perspective of creators, musicians, authors, as well as from the angle of the consumers. You know, we want people to realize and recognize actually that intellectual property, just as any other property, it should be accorded the same respect. So through the consultation with the stakeholders, we actually drafted the bill, and we also actually started the process to ratify some of the international treaties. Ndapewa, you know, copyright and just broadly intellectual property, these are actually, I don't want to say intangible assets, but it can actually be consumed by somebody in a different world. But for your work, who is in Namibia, for it to be protected elsewhere in South Africa, Zambia, and you know, beyond, Namibia or your country of origin or the country where you are operating, it should be member and signatory to certain treaties. So together with the Ministry of Education, we decided that Namibia need to be part of what we call the Marrakesh Treaty that enable content to be made available to visual or otherwise print disabled, as well as the Beijing Treaty that speak to the right of performers, the WIPO Copyright Treaty that speak on the protections of copyright content in a digital environment. The main reason is that we want our citizens, we want the content creator within our jurisdiction to enjoy more broadly right beyond just Namibia. Because remember, you can actually commercialize your content, not just in our country, but beyond. But for you to be protected, Namibia need to subscribe to that, some of the treaties and legal reforms.
Yeah. Mr. Nicanor, just with regards to what Mr. Onesmus said, what role will NASCAM play when it comes to aligning Namibia's creative industry with the regional and also international standards?
Well, we have to align ourselves, especially our core functions, to best practices from regional bodies like ARIPO, as my colleague have said, and also CISAC. We must understand that we are operating in an international sphere. It's not just locally, because we do not only represent NASCAM members, we also represent stakeholders from across, the globe. Meaning, Namibia, NASCAM's territory. Namibia, NASCAM is mandated to license all users in Namibia. So we also need to understand that the rights that we are given by the users, so the rights holders, is one of our key assets to make sure that we fairly remunerate the users through licensing. Otherwise, our mandate is really not recognized only in Namibia, because if we do not make sure that all the creators are treated fairly, we may as well lose our right. Like our colleague have said, if they do not see us pay royalties fairly, they may revoke that right. And accordingly, our affiliates like CISA also recover rights. So we have to align all our operations to be fair to both local and international rights holders.
All right. Mr. Onesmus, perhaps your final remarks. What message does BIPA have for creators and also just the public ahead of Africa Copyright and Collective Management Day?
Thank you very much. Yes, we actually stand still and just reflect on the work that is being done by the creators within the sphere of the copyright. I think it's us as an authority, what keeps us, you know, not sleeping at night. We want to see intellectual property legal framework changing lives and livelihood. We want to see content creators creating and enable them to make living out of their hard work. So really, it's for us as public members to respect the rights that are actually accorded to these people by not just distributing and sharing their content given the devices that we have. We should really use it ethically, because remember, Ndapewa, the moment you share a music or a track of a music that is produced by a musician without, you know, just buying it, without any financial transaction, just remember you are robbing that actually Namibian from earning what they were supposed to earn. So really, as an authority, we want to create awareness to say, let us respect and treat intellectual property right as just as property like any other right. And by so doing, we are actually redefining and empowering our creators to enable them to earn a living from their work. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Onesmus, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
Right. Mr. Nicanor, thank you too for talking to us this morning.
Thank you very much, Ndapewa.